You are now listening to Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, the voice for the people. Join Richie alongside co-host property damage attorney Hans Kennon as they bring light to the taboo world of big insurance companies, exposing their tactics and fighting for justice. Hear stories from contractors across the state. Contractor Talk, here to protect homeowners and uncover the truth.
Right, welcome to the show, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, live every Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. here at 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial. The Answer. You have a second shot at us here online. You can find us streaming on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere that you like to stream. You can catch us also on YouTube. Find us there, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. Everything is also listed on our website, contractortalkpodcast.com. And we are sponsored by, like, if you need more websites, but we are sponsored by the Nonprofit Association, the Restoration Association of Florida, raflorida.org. If you're a service provider listening to us now, you want to talk about membership, be a part of our association, learn how to work in this industry, and also to network with other like-minded folks and other business owners alike here. Join us, find us there on the website, raflorida.org. All right, so today's a great show, like we have for you every single week. And again, check us out on anywhere that you like to stream. Spotify is my favorite, and Angela even has us set up here for live on Facebook. There we go. So everywhere technology is given, we are there for you. So I would normally say check us out on YouTube and like and subscribe us, because Hans, the co-host, he's our in-house attorney, has the dapper suit of the week, and he is not here today. So where's the music? Womp womp. I'll have to add those sound effects there. So, but that doesn't stop us from a great show. As a matter of fact, you know, we give him some very well rest and some time off there. We'll see him next week. So today we have, I'm going to go with Eli with Easy Air Solutions as our guest today, a licensed air conditioning company here in the Central Florida area. What's going on, man?
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, I'm glad that you're here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and tell us about your business.
All right, so my name is Eliseo, Eli for short. I'm from, I was born in Albania, raised in Greece, and moved to Florida in 3.5 years ago and opened up Easy Air Solutions.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And what was your background before that? Have you been working in this industry for a while before you moved here?
So I actually went to graduated from Florida Tech after high school, and then moved up north, worked over the period of 10 years, went for advanced refrigeration in Montgomery College, graduated from that while going to work in the mornings, school at night, and just worked my way from the bottom, man.
That's right. That's nice. That's nice. And so you, so during the day, were you working for air conditioning companies at that point?
Yes, I was working for air conditioning. Mm-hmm. Yeah, usually do, full shift. And at nighttime, going to school in the afternoons. It was a 4-year program, tested out since I had the background from the Mid-Florida Tech, graduated within 3 years, and then was in the field for another 8. That's
awesome. That's great. That's great. I love that. I mean, I was very, very similar in my industry. I fell in love with that. I'm a mold assessor by trade, and many other building inspection facets since then. Prior to, I was I was in the pest control business. So mostly what we did were termite work. So I did a lot of termite inspections. We also did the lawn fertilization, the pest control, that kind of stuff. So living and being in that service-related industry, giving customer service, just trying to give it your all, trying to also give the best price available and competitive rate as well. And that's what has built me to where I am today on offering great customer service to the folks that I do business with in the mold assessment world. So, I value that, all of your, consistent training in the industry, and then now coming to now you own your own company, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. Really is the dream. It really is. And that's where the Easy Air Solutions comes from, right? Your first name and your last name.
Yeah, it's actually worked out perfect. It worked out perfect.
That's great. That's great. And do you service the Central Florida area?
We do. We service Central Florida. We go anywhere from Davenport all the way to New Smyrna. We have a couple clients in Daytona. And it just, and clients that have like buildings here in Orlando or homes and all the way down to New Smyrna.
That's great.
For the vacation rentals.
That's great. And we were talking right before we started the show, and some cool things that I learned from you. I asked you about maintenance programs, and it was like, we've had some other folks on here talk about more of putting in new air conditioning units, and we asked some questions about adding in new ducts. Whenever you replace a unit, should you replace the ducts? A whole nother question. But no, we I asked you about, do you have like an annual plan? Matter of fact, you said you have a monthly plan, which is actually it sounds fantastic. Tell us about that.
So the monthly plan is $22.95 a month, and we'll come in, and it covers maintenance twice a year. So we'll come in, we'll check the unit, check float switches, wipe down the units, clean the coils, replace the filters, clean out the outdoor unit. A lot of the outdoor units, usually we'll see like 2 inches of leaves right on the bottom. Mm-hmm. That moisture gets caked on the coil, or like dirt caked on the coil. So all those things will come up on the maintenance. AC units is, it's an expensive system in your house, and it's what you breathe. So we just try to, help you maintain it, keep it together, and then prevent breakdowns.
Wow, that's great. That's great. And then if you are I'll call it a member, mm-hmm. Does that offer discounts on if you needed to replace a unit or certain parts? The flux capacitor always goes out in my house all the time. So, but and what does that look like if it's on weekends and after hours and all that kind of stuff?
So on yes, you do have, if you're a member, and you do get 15% off on the bill. Or whatever it is, the parts that needs to be replaced and anything like that. So you get 15% off for that, and you get priority scheduling. So if your unit breaks down in the middle of summer, we'll try to get you as soon as possible to come out. Like, we don't push out. I mean, I'm the worst when it like kind of time to stick to timing, because I've worked way past 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and it's like I just try to get to the calls, get them to cool down, get the house cooled down. There's people that have families, kids, babies mm-hmm. in the house. So I'm the type, man. I just want to be there and fix your AC.
That's great. That's great. And so we're talking about residential maintenance plans. So for as little as $22 a month, you're going to come out and maintain it. You're also going to clean the coils and all that every 6 months.
We'll wipe down the coils, check it out. If a lot of the coils are a little more. The condensing coils are usually, some of them are double the higher efficiency units. Mm. So that requires a little more work. You got to split them, wash them, because it makes the system work harder. So we go above and beyond, try and make sure you have everything, your unit working right.
That's awesome. That's great. That's a great price. And to have you make us a priority if we were to
Absolutely.
go ahead and become a member with you. So how do we get a hold of you if somebody was listening right now and they said, okay, I wanted to talk to you about that, have you come out of my house, do the first, service on it and get you set up? How do they get a hold of you?
So you can go by the website, easyair-solutions.com. You can also reach us by phone, 407-469-8000. We're based out of Castleberry, and Instagram, nice. Facebook, all those.
That's right, man.
Absolutely.
We can find you on any platform. That's
absolutely
fantastic.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
I feel like nowadays, man, you just got to keep up with technology.
Yeah, no, you can almost Google anything nowadays, right? And you have full access, especially with social media and that. Easiest way to get a hold of you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, social media.
Yeah, even Google. We're in Google too. You can check out the reviews, check us out.
That's awesome, and that's a good point. I mean, we say that on the show a lot. Is that do your own homework?
Absolutely.
And with us at the Restoration Association of Florida, we vet the folks that are part of our association, that are members, and we put them out in front of consumers and to other professionals and say, hey, these guys do great work.
Yeah.
They stand behind their work, and everybody that are members here, we all know each other. We talk to each other, and we want to make sure that we do good for the client. Right, for the customer, even if that means eating our own mistakes, which sometimes happens, and not every single one do we win and walk away from it. We're like, okay, not everyone is a home run, like I like to say, but it's great to work with with companies like you and yourself being a hustler in this industry, and that's really what it takes. I mean, there's passion, and there's also being a hustling to make sure that you stay ahead of your competition and put the customer first, by offering the most, for the most competitive pricing.
I feel like nowadays you just gotta love what you do, man, because if you don't, you're gonna cut corners. And like my company's now, by all means, I don't cut corners. I like to do the right thing and just At the end of the day, I want you to be happy, and if you're happy, I'm happy.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the same for me, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
you know, a happy customer at that point means that you've done a great job, and then they'll refer you to others. You know, I had a
Absolutely.
great experience, and this is what I learned from that. And in my industry, you know, it happens to fall after a disaster. You know, so you know, even though we do a lot of mold assessments, a lot of what we do are insurance-related services.
Yeah.
You know, so not only do we do the mold testing, but we do the asbestos testing. We also do engineering opinions. So we're experts within the building-related damage kind of world.
Yeah.
Right. And then, you know, I wanted to mention this on the show. I want to ask you your opinion, and I'll ask Hans this next time he's on. But I was contacted by a board member of the NCCI. What is it? NCCI. So the professional occupational codes, basically for certain industries and such, and they use this code to rate for workers' compensation insurance.
Okay.
And they one of the board members contacted me and said, "Hey, I found your name, and through the Restoration Association of Florida, just through searching to talk about why it would be bad for, there's a proposal that was set to make mold remediation industry folks part of the asbestos abatement category." And so what that would do and essentially would move them from janitorial subsection as mold remediation, which I agree it should still be in that. You know, you're literally cleaning material that has mold, mildew, those types of things. And many occasions you're throwing them away in a normal 6 mil plastic black bag into a normal dumpster, right? To where the biggest regulated industry and even the commercials on television on mesothelioma is all about asbestos related injuries from workers working in asbestos containing material. So by joining that code or joining mold remediation under asbestos abatement, I think would only expose folks to much higher insurance rates being put in with those asbestos abatement industry folks. I wanted to hear your opinion on that. I mean, because you also clean, you know, I mean, essentially when you get into it, I know you have to carry a lot of insurances. But imagine if your insurance carrier told you, say, hey, listen, I know you're going to get into mold in some of these air conditioning units. We're going to put your code now under asbestos abatement. You're going to pay 70, 100 times more than what you would pay now currently under this code.
Man, like the industry is going in such a way that over the past, 5, 7, 10 years, like everything has doubled. So, and the industry is changing so fast from the refrigerant. It's regulated big time, but I'll tell you the truth. So since I've been in Florida for about 4 years now, and I haven't really seen asbestos as much as much as when I used to live up north with the boilers and everything else, right?
Right.
So as far as the mold, I mean, I feel like there's mold in every home. There's mold in every home, and I think keeping it separate and just. I can agree with doing more training and getting your team to where if you do come out of it, have a dedicated team just for that. But skyrocketing the rates, it just, for companies that are especially for the smaller companies, when everything else has doubled and tripled, will take out a lot of people out of business.
Right. And I think that was the point of this board member, is that you're already going to price somebody, or you're going to price somebody out, a new business owner, out of an already heightened market. And what insurance companies are doing are reacting to a lot of the law changes, and then also suggesting the certain exposures, due to this. But, the question is, and it was related to me, it was, do you know of any of your members know of any lawsuits, class action lawsuits that employees have had from mold exposures?
No, I haven't. No, actually, I'm big into reading about the industry, and it hasn't been from the direct companies that I work with. I haven't heard any lawsuits or anything like that towards it.
Right, but you definitely know folks that have been damaged by asbestos.
Yes, correct. Absolutely.
And I think that's the point that he was trying to bring up. And now, the Office of Insurance Regulation and other bodies of our Florida government are actually considering this move. And I think it would be a failure to our system, whether it be on a national level and then trickle down to our state level. In many instances, I think that would price many of us, or just add to the barrier of entrance into mold remediation.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's so much of a market here in Florida with the humidity levels as high as they are, heat as it is. It makes mold grow much faster
Absolutely.
than it normally would in the northern states or in other places where the humidity isn't 85% majority of the time here in the state
Absolutely.
of Florida like it is here in Florida. So, but anyways, that was a side note that I thought that was interesting, and that's something that would potentially affect our industry, because many of us have to have, if you deal with mold one way or another, you would then have to be put into this code that would just make your rates crazy. He also mentioned the fight of salespeople that are work for roofing companies.
Yeah.
They may ladder up and look up there and be like, yep, that roof is green and that's the type of material it is and this is how much it costs. And they walk back down the ladder. Do they need to register as, can they register as a sales, or they actually have to register as a roofer that's swinging a hammer and repairing roof tiles? And so those questions come up and way over my head as far as understanding in insurance. I understand the way that it impacts small business owners. And to your point, we've seen so many law changes to where now we're seeing, and we saw some major aggressive law changes in the roofing industry, and even just workers within the state of Florida, proving certain ways that you're eligible to work here in the state of Florida, even paying certain fees, I believe to ERISA and such like that. So it's made it more to where it's becoming more expensive to operate here. And that would, I think, just lead to another cost that could possibly keep us to where we are, you know what I mean?
Man,
and not allow us to grow.
It hurts, because at the end of the day, the person that actually gets screwed is the homeowner.
Right.
And it raises, we get, I believe we got 15% price raising on equipment within just in April for the tariffs and everything else. And it's like all that, honestly, unfortunately, gets passed on to the homeowner, because and then insurance in the past 2 years has doubled the one we used to pay, and it's just hard, man.
It really is. And again, I think you have a great point. I was going to kind of echo that point of saying the consumers or us are the ones that eventually feel the pain. And it's already a fight with our insurance companies wanting to pay claims. We see many of the articles out stating that 14 insurance companies, not mentioning Citizens being the 15th company, that declined more than 50% of all the claims filed in the past two recent storms, Hurricane Helene and Milton. And Citizens was at the top, 77%, and there's 14 others that declined more than 50%. From people's distrust, as I like to call them, all the way down to Snake Farm, All Snake, and those other carriers alike. I mean, Security First, and I mean, so many of these big insurance companies, you think that would be like, okay, they sound like there's some good carriers and they're going to be on my side. Yeah. You find out they're not a good neighbor, they're not on your side, and they're declining more and more of these claims because the laws changed in 2022 that took away the individual's right or the consumer's right to file suit against their insurance company and be able to recover fees and costs. And so that's huge, because if you're debating or fighting over, let's say, a $10,000 roof claim, you need every single penny to replace your roof. You're on a budget, right? You pay your insurance company every single month, and then the time that you need it, once in 10 years, once in 20 years, you need it, you actually file the claim, and you have this crazy storm that you didn't ask for, right? And boom, you then now have to pay your attorney's fees, expert costs, just to get the money that you should have gotten when they were wrong up front. That's why it was a law since, I believe, 1893, something crazy, where Florida Supreme Court stated that you get attorney's fees and costs paid if you win. If the insurance company was found wrong on a denial, you get 100% of your indemnity. Now, that's across the line of all insurances: property, auto, life insurance, medical insurance. If they're found to be wrong, they should pay your attorney's fees and costs, period. That's the way it always has been, and we all understand that. But then you get in the right statute, I guess, or in the right, just pile of crap just happened to where our governor happens to be one of the most powerful governors that he was in 2022 coming out of COVID, keeping our small businesses open, had a lot of our trust, decides to run for president, gets bought out by the insurance lobby, $100 million given to him in his campaign to run for president, knowing that their agenda was, we give you this money, we promise you another $250 million, and you do our bidding. You get everything that we've ever asked for in the past 10 years to happen in these special sessions, and we will give you this money. And what did he do? He took it, and he did exactly that. He did their bidding. He sold out to big insurance, and that's a bunch of crap. I voted for the guy twice, and I shouldn't have the second time. Didn't know that he was going to be bought out like this, right? I mean, it's a big disappointment that they let that happen. Look at our CFO, Jimmy Petronas, $3.5 million raised for his campaign, all by insurance companies. And so he was out, how do they call it, bringing in more money than all of his opponents. So he was able to, obviously, he didn't win by a big amount, but we had somebody with no backing at all. A fish restaurant owner from the Panhandle happened to get famous because of Hurricane Michael went through that town, right? I mean, no other reason why he was famous to be a part of our government and being the CFO of Florida and go on television and call all of the public adjusters locusts for showing up after a storm, helping out folks after their time of need. And so that's just wrong. That just shows that they were bought out by the large insurance companies. It shows where they stand. And that's unfortunate that they can be bought out. I know that, it sucks because what do they say? Absolute power ruins absolutely. I'd like to think even if I had that much power, I couldn't be bought out. Again, I don't know if I would, I don't think I'd ever be in this position in my life because I'd never want to run for that type of office, but I don't see myself being bought and paid for and being able to push somebody else's agenda when the folks here that voted for him he's supposed to be a voice of the public that voted for him. And that's not what happened. And he ended up pushing his own agenda to try to run for president, got his butt kicked, never was able to beat Trump in a primary in any way. And then now he's got nowhere else to go. So what is he doing? He's going to run his wife, Casey DeSantis, for governor. I mean, that's how low he's going to go because he can't go anywhere else. And that's unfortunate that that it's so obvious that even the Trump campaign has called him out on several times in articles and saying, oh, look at DeSantis and his cronies. They're pushing his agenda in the Senate because we had the bill up to push attorney's fees and costs back into a Florida statute. So if a consumer wins against their insurance company, they would then have to pay, the insurance company would have to pay their fees and costs. Back to where it should be. What happened? The Senate blocks it. Trump campaign calls them out and says, look at the lackeys from Governor DeSantis still in the Senate holding up the bill. So the House pushed the entire bill all the way through. Matter of fact, they stuck the attorney's fees when it failed in regular chambers, in the regular committees rather, and it didn't move in the Senate. They threw it in a phosphate mining bill at the last minute that was already passed the entire House. Pushed it back over to the Senate. Senate declined it, and now that bill dies as well too. So our Florida legislature just ended on Friday on the 2nd. So we are out of our 60-day Florida legislature or legislative time and legislative session. And so we did not see any successful civil matters get through, at least in my head. The ones that were important to me were attorney's fees coming back to give a homeowner a shot. So if they're in their dispute against their insurance company, they would be able to have an even playing field. Because the average consumer, if you're suing for $10,000 or anything under $50,000, truly, you're gonna need to be able to have enough meat on the bone to pay your attorney, pay your experts, and be able to prepare your property back to some sort of normalcy, even though you'll never have that paying 30% to an attorney and all this other stuff. So we do hope and keep our fingers crossed that the next session, since this session failed, that we can get it done, that our Florida legislators will figure out a way that to put the consumer first and bring back attorney's fees and costs for when the insurance companies are found to be incorrect. When they're found to incorrectly decline a claim, they should have to pay attorney's fees and costs. So we talk about this and many other subjects to keep not only contractors but also consumers the protections in place here at the Restoration Association of Florida. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right. We're back live on 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial, The Answer, and brought to you in streaming mode about a few days after. Every Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., we record live here in studio. So if you're listening here, then you're hearing us on the Central Florida 94.9 FM or 950 AM, The Answer. If you're a streaming person, you'll hear us, I would say by Wednesday or Thursday. We're on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere else you stream. And of course, if you like to watch the video part of it, I don't know why. We all have a face for radio, as they say, but check us out there if you're that interested on our YouTube page, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. You can find everything on contractortalkpodcast.com and more websites for you. We're sponsored by the Restoration Association of Florida, by contractors, for contractors, nonprofit association, www.raflorida.org. All right, so always catching up after the break, and good conversations with you going on with Eli from Easy Air Solutions, your service provider for air conditioning and heating here in the Central Florida area. If you missed the first part of our show, we talked about the maintenance program that he offers. If you're a homeowner here in Central Florida and you do not have a maintenance program on your air conditioning system right now, and we're going into summer, oh man, I'm telling you, you need to give him a call now. Get it set up on that. On the maintenance program, only $22 a month. You become a priority customer. You also get 15% off the bill if you have to replace something. Like I said, my flux capacitor always goes out Friday night, or Saturday, sometime on the weekend or some inconvenient time. And so you offer 24/7 service. Is that right?
Yes, sir, we do.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And how do they get a hold of you if they do want to set up for that maintenance program?
They can just call the number 407-469-8000. Reach out by Facebook, Instagram, all the platforms. We're on Google. Just look us up.
What's your website again?
www.easyair.solutions.com.
That sounds easy to me.
Easy enough.
That's it. It's the letter E and the letter Z. That's the way it is. EasyAirSolutions.com. Awesome, man. And yeah, man, I have so many questions for you.
Yeah, sure.
Now, you mentioned when you do come out for the maintenance program, you're checking the I call them the little check valves and things like that. Now, most people when they say, well, I do my own maintenance or whatever, and they talk about vacuuming that line and stuff like that, and what's best to use, like bleach versus like hot water and all that stuff. Not only do you maintain that, but I mean, just somebody listening to that, I mean, in their little home units, what would you advise on that, to keep the lines clean and those types of things?
So, I mean, vinegar does work. Just put it down the line. Every time you change the filter, you just drop vinegar down the line. Our method is a little different.
Like a cup of vinegar, just straight up?
Yeah, just a cup of vinegar. Okay. Our method is usually, we open up the system, we'll wipe down the whole inside of the unit, and then we use nitrogen actually to flush through the line and vacuum out the line. We'll clean the condensate pan. We'll do aldehyde treatment right on the pan. And, we try to go, check all the safety switches because, if the safety switch is bad, it'll either have to be replaced or figure out why it's not working. That can create a lot of damage. But we try to go, make sure everything is running properly, all the safety switches work, because that's what's keeping your home in a good shape.
That's right. And as the humidity rises here in Florida, I made a couple of mentions. One of them was our average humidity in the state of Florida all year around. When you average it out from your days that it's just raining all day, 100% humidity, to the days where like 20% barely humid at all in the wintertime, our month of winter we have in the state of Florida. But and you mix that all together, it's an average of 85%. Which is super high. So we live in this wet environment, and it's funny because I go out west instead of go to Colorado, my lips start cracking. I'm like, it's so dry here. How do people do it? And so I am used to the humidity here, so I can then say I'm a Florida boy, true and true for sure. But when the humidity is rising, most people, or when it's low rather, most people have their air conditioning units off, or they have it just set on a setting, or maybe they open the windows. And as an indoor air quality guy, and at some moments, I think it's fine. Most people want to try to air it out and those types of things. But then when it gets to the time to where it's like, okay, it's getting super humid outside, and then the temperature starts to creep up, most people just have the temperature set up, and depending on the size of the unit, you get some pretty, fast cooling, and the machine shuts off, leaving you with that static air and maybe some odors and things like that. What would you recommend somebody do? Would you be looking at the thermostat, or what would you be looking at mostly?
So every unit is made for a specific house. If you have high humidity, I definitely recommend getting a load calculation on the house, and that would tell you what unit do you need for your house, and then just seeing what you have. And if the unit, a lot of people like to oversize the units. Like when you talk to a homeowner, be like, oh, I want to, I have a 3-ton, I want to put a 4-ton or a 5-ton. It doesn't work that way. A 3-ton is made for, depends what the calculations on the house, the load that the house has. So that's why it's important to do that before you end up either replacing the unit or to help out your humidity. If the unit runs for a short period of time, it's not enough to remove the humidity from the air. And that's when you get into like having the right unit, and dehumidifiers and everything else depend where the house is built.
That's right. And I think that's a good point as well. And as an indoor quality guy, I've made a mention to that as far as the size of the unit. In this occasion, size does matter, because because your point, if the unit is oversized, it's going to bring it to temperature very quickly. Doesn't give it enough time to draw the moisture out of the air, and circulate the air. What they call ACH, air exchanges per hour are what you're looking for. Air changes per hour, a minimum of 4 to 6 in every residential environment. Most people don't understand that. It's like, I need to change the air, the complete, all of the air in this room needs to be sucked out and replaced 4 to 6 times an hour. And if your air conditioning system isn't coming on, you're going to have stagnant air. And once your humidity gets over 60%, mold can start to grow on certain semi-porous and porous materials. And so we see it all the time where there's mold on shoes, mold on clothing, and dark closets and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's mostly because they have the doors closed. There's no access to any air at all. And so where I'm going with that is that most people don't have that setting on their thermostat as well. And I think that's important to note, is that in today's technology, you can find thermostats that also read the humidity inside. And you can set it to where if your humidity hits a certain point, it kicks on the air conditioning system as well.
Yeah.
And so, so now, would you make recommendations to homeowners of that and help them change it out to the correct unit, or what would you offer in that situation outside the load calc?
Absolutely. Even when we, let's just say we'll go for a maintenance, I usually look around to see, do you have any hot spots, cold spots in the house? I look at, see what the humidity is, and you can, once you open up the unit, you can see if the house has mold issues, because they'll definitely go through that AC unit, and then how bad the filter is, and you'll start seeing mold on the sides, on the insulation. You'll start seeing mold on the motor, and then the supply plenum on top. So there's definitely signs. The signs are there. It's just hiring the right professional to actually see those signs.
That's right. And you also offer a separate service for cleaning the air ducts and the system.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
Yeah. So cleaning the air ducts is the flex ducts is cleaning the ducts. Should be inspected for air leaks, inspected for mold, inspected for what kind of condition are the ducts in. We'll go to a lot of houses that were built in the 70s, the 80s, that is all fiberboard. Unfortunately you can't clean that. If you have fiberboard, they just need to be replaced. It's past their time.
That's right. I mean, there's just no way to clean fiberboard. It's just no way. Think about that thick insulation in an attic and trying to get something stuck in the middle of that insulation. Yeah. There's just no way to get it out of there. And so I mentioned that before the show, is like some people get their a backup of water and it soaks their plenum. And it's like, oh yeah. Some people say, oh yeah, we can dry that out for you. And I'm like, what? And when you said that some AC companies would actually claim to clean some of the ductwork that have that insulation in there, and you're like, how do they clean it? I made a point. I was like, they probably just deodorized it, and that was it. Just run some fog through it to quote unquote make it smell clean, and that's not doing any service, not doing any real cleaning, just masking what's there. And so that's unfortunate. So I'm glad you brought that up. If you're a homeowner listening and you have that old ductwork and you're about ready to change your air conditioning unit, my suggestion, and I've heard it this way, and it makes sense, if you change your air conditioning unit, change your ductwork along with it. Most people don't change it out unless you need it every 10, 15, 20 years. Are they changing out your air conditioning unit? So I think I would want my ducts changed when I change my unit out as well. Maybe if it's more flex, maybe it would live through a change and just get the ductwork clean. Would that be?
Yeah.
Right?
If you do well, so listen. If you have a fiberboard ductwork throughout the house, if you have hot spots, cold spots within the house, and if you use flex to run through the house, it's gonna flow a lot better. You're gonna get better airflow. The unit is gonna work a lot easier, and the air movement within the house is gonna be a lot better. And then when you do the ductwork, if you do a unit, I do definitely highly recommend to hire like a filter. Like on my house, I have a 4-inch filter. I have UV lights. Just like my little one has allergies, so I try to go above and beyond to make sure I have a clean air quality for the house. So especially if you have asthma or allergies and stuff like that, you should definitely look at your ductwork, because it's the best filter in the house is your lungs, honestly. That's right. So you want to protect them as much as you can.
That's right. And in my world, I say if you do have allergies, the filter really is everything. Make sure you get a HEPA filter at minimum. And it depends, right? I mean, if you have pets and those types of things, how often you need to replace the filter. At maximum every 3 months. If you have pets, monthly, that kind of thing. Would you recommend something similar, or what do you recommend to your clients as far as a filter replacement?
For a filter replacement, definitely. If you have like a MERV 13, I use MERV 13s. You can go up to MERV 14 if you have a bigger filter. I've seen the difference. Like some people are against UV light, some people are with it. I'm personally with it because I've seen the difference that it makes within the unit. It keeps the unit a lot cleaner, and it takes a lot longer for the unit to accumulate the dirt if you didn't have a UV light.
Right. So a combination with the UV light and maybe a MERV 13 rated filter, you would say still monthly or every 3 months, or when would you recommend?
Every house is different. I mean, there's people that are that have pets and stuff. So you're gonna learn to know your house.
That's right.
You're gonna learn to know your house. It might be a week. It might be a month. It might be 3 months. I've seen 6 months.
Yeah, depending on how much dander and that type of thing built up. Yeah, that's a good point. So every house is different. So, all right, we'll be right back with Easy Air Solutions at easyair-solutions.com. And we'll be right back. Get some thanks to our sponsors. All right. We're back live on our final section here on Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial, The Answer. And to you on streaming, Spotify, iTunes, everywhere else you stream here in a few days. After every Monday night that we record here. Tonight we have our special guest, Eli, with Easy Air Solutions, easyair-solutions.com. Right before the break, we're talking about the maintenance program that you offer, and we were just kind of kicking it around on the break. It may be something that consumer would want to hear. Let's say you do have some hot spots in the house. Let's say you have an older construction home, and you're like, man, is it? And I just got a new unit, but it's still not kind of helping. Would you fall back to that comment you had about every house needs to have a proper energy or some sort of load calculation, and or would you look at the ducts like you mentioned also, that ducts have a lot to do with pushing the air out to everywhere it needs to be and evenly distributed. So what would you think in that situation? Where would you start?
I would definitely start in the attic.
Yeah.
Just jump in the attic, and usually the rooms that do have a problem is usually a corner house or And you can't go by square footage. Oh, it's 100 square foot. I'm gonna put this much duct in. Well, the corner has a lot more heat load than a room in the middle of the house. So it's kind of like, see what's there, see what kind of ductwork it is, and the newer stuff it flows a lot better. So if you have the duct board, it's hitting every turn. It's hitting a corner, so it's gonna slow down the air big time. So it's usually the further room or like a corner room that usually has a problem.
Gotcha. In commercial settings, I hear of them setting up dampeners and things like that to redirect air to make it less in one area and more in the other area. Does something like that exist for residential homes?
Residential homes, actually, I've seen there's zones. You can set up different thermostats of different zones, and then you can have like one side of the house on one zone and the other side of the house on another zone, and it's ran all for one unit. So you so you can kind of separate, keep the house in a more even temperature throughout it.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. And I think Angela even asked this question. I think homeowners would want to know, if I were to have you come out to my home to diagnose this issue, if I did have a hot spot in my kind of my house going on, what would that cost me as a consumer to have you come out, take a look at everything?
I would honestly, it would be cheaper for you to just do a maintenance and then go through the unit, and anything that you have an issue with the unit, it will come up within the maintenance. And
Gotcha.
it's like instead of me charging you $120 to come out and diagnose just that issue, you pay a little more, you get your whole system maintained, and then if you have an issue, since we're there, we can just look at it.
That's great. Now, if you were to, outside the maintenance program, I just called you then, you brought up that point, I say, hey, I just need you to come and maintain my whole thing. It's like basically like an oil change for my car.
Yeah.
And I want you to come out and do it and get started. What would that cost me?
So it runs about $150 to $180. Usually it's just to kind of go through the whole system and, let's say, wipe down the coil, tighten the electrical, go through all the safety switches, clean up the pan, clean up the drains. We'll flush the drains with nitrogen, and we'll try to go above and beyond. And
Nice.
that's kind of the best thing to, if you have an issue, just name it right there, and then we'll just dive in and see what it is. So your money is going towards something.
That's great. Now, after I do that initial oil change, what I call it, then that initial service, is that when then I can sign up for the maintenance program at $20 a month?
You can, yeah, absolutely.
Nice. That's great. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, because then every 6 months, like clockwork, you're going to come out then and inspect the unit, clean it up, do everything that you just did on that first service. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Oh, man, that's awesome. That's great. And then something that you can help us plan out for, because as a homeowner, let's say maybe you came out in 6 months and you're like, okay, whew, man, the air, your system maybe isn't holding, charge, or maybe it's something like this. You can tell, maybe alerts that I can get you through until the 6 months later, but now we have to start saving up, or whatever for a new unit or whatever it is. It seems like a no-brainer, because it almost gets you set up for it, like okay, I know that next service I'm going to need to replace these certain parts, and in my head I'm already now thinking about saving up for those parts. Is that something that you would do for a homeowner, like give an estimate, say, okay, you're going to need to do this in a few months, and this is what it would cost?
Rich, I'm the type, man, I'll put everything on the table, and I'll show you, like, listen, this is what we need to get the unit up and running, this is what we need to get it closer to the specs, and this is what we need, we should either replace it or whatever needs to be done. I'll put everything on the table, and I'll help you make the decision. I'm not the type to push sales or push anything like that. As far as maintenance goes a long way. And if your unit, I can, once we see the condition of the unit, you'll get a full report, right? You'll get a full report of what the compressor is amping, what's the motors that are amping. Is something that we can see that it might fail in the next so many months. But if your unit is you need to dump $1,500 to it, at that point it's just better off to replace it, because it just it's too much money for you to put in it. And what's keeping you from a compressor going bad or the coil going bad right after that, after you do the repairs? That's so right. It's kind of like, do you want to play that game, or what is it going to be, kind of thing?
Right. Now, let's say if something does fail and a homeowner doesn't have the money all up front for it, do you offer financing or have a way to get them to get financing?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we do offer financing. We'll just send you on an application. You fill it out. You can pretty much within 25-30 seconds see if you're approved or not, and then it's kind of easy breeze process from there.
That's great. That's great. I mean, so many more contractors are offering the financing because not everybody has the money. And we work in this like disaster management world at the Restoration Association of Florida. Many of our members do. Of course, in our off times, we're helping homeowners, every day. But after disaster, we show up in those areas from, we were in Louisiana just a few years back from Ida, and back over in 2020 to Sally and Pensacola, and then the other storms since then, and then of course Helene and Milton, both here in Florida and Georgia and the Carolinas. Many folks affected, and we've been able to help folks throughout there in our membership as well, helping folks all the way through after their time of need, being able to put them back to some sort of pre-loss condition by fronting a lot of the services and billing directly to the insurance company, waiting it out with them in hopes that they're going to get paid and that kind of thing. And so the folks in our association work for the homeowner to put them first. And that's why I'm an advocate about the laws here in the state of Florida, because, us as professional service providers, our laws and what we have is reflective of what the consumer has. They pass that ability on to us to be able to bill and collect and help them out at the end of the day, make sure that they're put back to that, again, the pre-loss condition that I talk about. And so it's important for us to know what's going on in even our Florida legislature, as in what people are hearing, what's been told by some of these fake associations out there. Believe it or not, there are associations that are there that are called, maybe I won't call them out. More and more people are listening to my radio show. I would talk so much smack, not thinking anybody would listen to my show, and then you're like, oh yeah, I listened to it, so maybe I'll calm down a little bit. But anyways, there's so many things that I've heard that that are anti-consumer. And you think of like, wow, man, it's like the folks that are voting for you, putting you in your place, you get into this space and now you forget about them and you put them last. I don't think that's fair. I've seen it firsthand to where there was a consumer advocate position in our Florida government, and that position is basically always silenced to the point to where it was really heightened in the late 2019, I was going to say how do you even say the late teens, like whatever, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, very, very heightened, where the Florida legislature was led to act, quote unquote, on all of this crisis of insurance stuff going on. They called it fraud. First, it was a remediation technician, or the remediation folks. That's why I founded the Restoration Association of Florida, and that we stand up for service provider rights, professionals here in the state of Florida that were not getting a fair share. And I get up to Tallahassee and you hear some of these, like, I'll call this association out, the Florida Roofing and Sheep Metal Association. Yes, I say sheep because they are just sheep, and I don't know what else to say about it. But that association is supposed to back the roofers. And during a lot of the changes where the legislators were saying, the insurance lobby that were lobbying to the legislators were saying that roofers are the reasons why the rates are going up. And this is 2020. They got Senate Bill 76 to pass through that put in more, I would say, like roadblocks for roofing service providers, to where it put solicitation rights against them. And if they broke one piece of solicitation, if they knocked on a door and offered a consumer anything of value, here, take this pen with my name on it as a free, in exchange for them to sign up for a contract in which insurance proceeds are payable, they would get a fine of $10,000 and a first degree or a third degree, whatever. It's a felony, whatever. And so we fought that heavily, because that's fake news right there, right? I mean, am I for the whole knock on the door solicitation stuff? No, I literally have a sign on my front door. It's like Smith & Wesson. I'm just kidding. I don't do the Smith & Wesson thing. But I have the whole, I don't care if you're speaking about this, whatever, trying to give me a candy bar, your Seventh-day Adventist. I don't care. I don't care what you're talking about. I don't want any solicitors on my door, right? So I'm that type of person. If I need you, I'll call you. But I also supportive of the fact of folks want to go out and knock on doors after a hailstorm, after a windstorm, and offer their services. There's nothing wrong with that, right? In my neighborhood, because there's supposed to be no soliciting, and I get mad because they always solicit anyway. But anyways, outside of that, it's not wrong. Right. I mean, so the way that you market is not wrong. They're just trying to call it out. So I stand behind the service providers that do that knock on doors after storms and say, hey, I'm in your neighborhood. For me, if I'm getting my roof replaced, I'd rather go with somebody that's in my neighborhood. Of course, I want to check their references, check their insurances, make sure that they're a good quality company and they're rated on the Better Business Bureau and all that stuff. Always they should be showing up at your door, showing their insurance, being able to be transparent right there before you select your contractor. I'm big about that. But I stood behind the roofers. Our association filed suit against Senate Bill 76. We brought in everybody from the Construction Licensing Board to Department of Business and Professional Regulation. Any board that we can bring in that can impose a penalty or a fine, we sued them. And we said, this is wrong. You can't do this. And we held it up for 2.5 years as we litigated it and said that this is BS. And we had the facts right there. We're like, show us where any of this has contributed to any quote unquote fraud. Show me where the arrests have been made for any contractors committing such quote-unquote fraud when there are tens and tens of thousands of complaints against insurance companies. And this is an actual article. You can look it up. You know how many complaints there were against contractors during the same 10-year period of there's 10,000 complaints against insurance companies? 99. So under 100 complaints against contractors and tens of thousands against insurance companies that were never followed up with against fraud. So anyways, I digress and I sit off my my high horse with that. But anyways, it's great to have you on the show, man. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Check them out online, easyarsolutions.com. Every week we have a different guest. Check us out online, www.raflorida.org, for our association news and events, as we are sponsored by the Restoration Association of Florida. If you're a service provider interested in joining us as a member, if you'd like to be on our show, definitely hit us up through our social media or send us an email to info@raflorida.org. Eli, again, great to have you on the show, man. One last time, how do they get a hold of you? What's a good number to reach you?
Phone number is 407-469-8000. You can reach us by either website, Instagram, Facebook, Google. We're all there.
All right, we'll talk to you guys next week. See you.
Thank you.